Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Home is Where the Dark Is. This is Alex Crescioni. Have you ever had such a vivid, obscure, demented, odd dream that you think about it all day? You wake up and you can't get it out of your mind. Oftentimes, we jot them down, maybe on a piece of paper or a quick summary of it. But I think it's a really important practice if we can remember and find the time to write down our dreams. If you have one that's extremely vivid, that doesn't really make a lot of sense at the time, but I guarantee you, if you practice this, that you will find value in rereading your dreams in the future. I have a lot of very, very strange dreams, very vivid, very obscure. Sometimes they'll come in waves. I'll have multiple odd dreams throughout the week, and then sometimes I'll go for months without having anything too obscure. But there was one night, maybe 10 years ago, where I had this dream that I'm going to share with you today. And the only reason that it's possible for me to share it with you today is because I decided to write it down. I had completely forgotten about this dream until recently, and I was going through some of my old hard drives. And I do this thing where every time I get a new phone, I'll do a dump of that phone, because when I get a new phone, I don't like to transfer everything over. I like to start completely fresh. So new phone, new photos, new chapter, and then I dump all the data from the phone onto a drive and I forget about it. But every once in a while, I'll go back. And in this situation, I was looking through files of my phone from about 10 years ago. I think it was like an iPhone 4S or something ridiculous. And for some reason, I thought to write down this dream. And I remember I just typed it out the next morning on my computer, and then I printed it out on a piece of paper, and then I took a photo of it on my phone and completely forgot about it. And I don't know why I decided to do that, but something told me, you know what, you're going to want to remember this in the future. So I'm going to go ahead and read you this dream. I took a photo of it. I had a JPEG file of a picture of a printed out piece of paper that I typed the dream on. And I used some website, basically. There's sites where you can create text from photo. So I uploaded the photo, it spit out the text, and now I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. So before I do, I urge you to give this a try if you don't already do this, and I guarantee you at some point, at least one or two of these dreams will have meaning to you in the future. Something that didn't make sense at all at the time, you will look back on one day, read over it, and just completely have your mind blown for who knows why, but I guarantee you. So for me, this dream doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's something about it that made me want to do a podcast today about dreams and writing them down. So hopefully this can help you in the future, and you can get a little bit of entertainment and travel into my mind a little bit. Now, I'll say it again. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it was a dream I had. And here we go. I'm titling it Black Trees, Red Leaves. The rain was hard that night, pounding down onto the window and roof like a fucking war zone. I had just moved to Los Angeles and was living alone and was in need of some comfort. I called one of my friends I thought very highly of and actually had feelings for. Her name was Sarah, and she knew I wanted more than anything to be with her. She's one of those kinds of girls that really makes you work to become her close friend. And I considered myself almost there, as did she. She drove down with her friend in the pouring rain to see me. She called from outside my apartment, so I went down to greet her and her friend Dorian. They were soaked just from the walk from the car to the door. The streets were like rivers. While we were walking upstairs, I noticed them both being in a particularly good mood, talking about their college classes and whatnot. We got to my place, and I let them in and offered them a drink. They both instantly made themselves at home, which I was fine with. We got into deep conversation about the world, politics, and it eventually led to sex. We ended up making dinner and criticizing everyone on TV. They were both very smart girls, Sarah mostly. They knew way more about certain topics than I, considering they were political science majors and read almost everything they could get their hands on. Yet I was a music major, so I didn't really mind. I learned a lot from them that night. It was getting late, and they decided to stay over for the night. They both passed out within 5 minutes while I couldn't do anything but stare at Sarah. I started fantasizing about her instead of getting some sleep. I knew that would never happen, so I just turned over and tried to get some rest. I was happy enough knowing she came to see me. Right before I dozed off, I felt something brushing up against my leg. Shocked, I turned over to see Sarah touching me. She got into bed with me and looked into my eyes. I thought I was dreaming, but I realized I wasn't when I felt her warm, soft hand on my chest. We lay for 20 minutes simply gazing at one another. I couldn't take it anymore and lusted forward to kiss her. She was amazing. I couldn't have imagined it any better. We made love for the whole night. At one point, I noticed that Dorian had gotten up to get some water but didn't mind our noise and went back to sleep. Sarah told me she loved me, and I couldn't have been any happier at that point. We fell asleep in each other's embrace at around 4 a.m. That was the last time I saw her or anyone. I awoke to the sound of what it seemed like really hard rain that got louder and louder until I realized it wasn't rain at all. I jolted out of bed and looked out the window. The sky was thick, black smoke. The opposite side of my apartment complex was gone. I could now see out into the street. There was nothing left. Hollywood had turned into a bloodshed wasteland. There were dead bodies everywhere. I turned to wake Sarah and Dorian, but they were gone. A loud explosion shook the earth as I looked out the window again. A giant spacecraft had crashed over where Capitol Records once stood. I was in shock, realizing what was left of the complex would be in flames at any time. I put on my clothes and ran out into what looked like a never-ending human junkyard, corpses scattered and piled. I saw a structure in the distance and made a run for cover. About halfway, I looked back. A red glow was bursting through the black smoke. A massive ball of red flame flew through the sky and landed up in the Hollywood Hills, causing an immense tumbling avalanche of houses and earth. I kept running, having to dodge smaller bodies of flame falling from the sky. I made it to the structure where others were hiding out. I kept asking for Sarah repeatedly, but everyone was in too much panic to care. I hit the back of my head against the concrete wall and slid down to the floor, almost blacking out. The earth shook again. This time, a loud sort of aircraft noise came from behind the black clouds. Another spacecraft came charging through the black and landed right where I was about 10 minutes ago, sleeping in my bed. The spacecraft dropped its lift, unleashing its main weapon. They were what everyone didn't believe in. The creatures were at least 8 feet tall with oval-shaped heads, red glowing eyes, and huge teeth, each holding something that looked like a rocket launcher, but who really knew? All I knew was I had to start running. Everyone did. We made it to La Brea to see that the earth had divided and left a jagged, endless pit. It looked like the other side started at Fairfax. The monsters were storming towards us in an army of thousands. They all marched in perfect lines and sections like machines, their claws gripping their weapons and firing at the running crowd of humans. They finally reached us at the edge. I slipped and remember falling into the abyss, watching the others coming down too. They all gathered at the edge and made sure each human was shot or thrown to their death. He had taken me. I could feel the transformation. A bright white swirling light was racing past as I fell deeper. Darkness took over me. I awoke in a claustrophobic space about the size of a coffin. I put both hands to my sides and gripped the muddy walls. It was damp and smelled like something was rotting. I looked up and saw a small opening of light. I clawed up the walls as leeches and centipedes the size of my hand were falling on my head. I got to the small opening and peeked up. Its circular rim was coated with hissing snakes. I ripped a dagger-shaped rock out of part of the mud and proceeded stabbing at their heads. I squeezed out as if being reborn. I fell onto the ground in a fetal position and realized I was covered in thick red excretion and wasn't at all human. I was one of them. I looked up to see a dark, atrocious realm. As I walked through the damp brush, I noticed the black trees with red leaves. So, as you can see, makes no sense. It's interesting, and I have no idea where that came from, but that was one of my dreams. And the way it was written, too, that's exactly how I typed it up that morning. It might have been a couple hours after I woke up, and it was so like it was just grinding at me like for the first 2 hours of the day. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna write this down really quick and see what happens. But yeah, I urge you to try this if you don't already. It's a great practice, and it could definitely spark some inspiration. I like looking back on old entries, old photos, old songs, old lyrics, and sometimes you'll be pleasantly surprised, whether it's extremely bad, extremely good, something that doesn't even seem like it came from you, but it was an earlier version of yourself. I hope this video may inspire you to write down more of your ideas, write down more of what you imagine, write down more of your dreams, and just with no expectations, just document it. And one day it might be something extremely valuable to you. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you're an artist, band, or musician, and you need a little assistance with your new record, I'd be happy to talk to you about mastering. I absolutely love it. It's my passion. I love making music. I love writing songs. I love recording. I love mixing. I love mastering. But mastering, I've been doing a lot more of lately. And it's great because I can work with anyone in the world. And if you're ready to release a new album and you just need that final touch, please get in touch and we can talk. Much love. Bye.